Hello, hello, test 1, 2. All right. Well, I think we'll get started here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second Ameliorate demo live stream. Today, I will be going over the new features that have been added since last update. Let's see. These features are outlined in the blog post that I made. I'll post that in the chat. I guess it's also in the description that you can take a look at. So I'll pretty much be using this as an outline to demo these features today. Let's see, make sure you can see the right, yeah, it looks like I'm sharing the right screen. So, without further ado, also I guess, make sure to subscribe to that Substack if you want to get updates on the future blog posts I make. And something else I was going to say. I guess feel free to ask questions as we go along. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat. So, the first thing you'll notice here, I guess for the features that were added recently, the focus was on giving a place to put information that is relevant to a topic. So some things are like probably not in their like best spots or are kind of like scratch notes. So that will be refined further as we go. But so the first feature here, you'll notice on the left here, we've got this pane. Previously, it was just this views list, which you can kind of click through the claim trees. You've got criteria tables and the topic diagram. This explore diagram is new, but we'll get to that in a second. Now, there's this details pane, which just basically gives you a little extra context on whatever you're looking at. So when nothing is selected, this is the topic's details. And the main thing in here is just that you can add a description for your topic. I guess I forgot to say, so we're using this government shutdown kind of topic just to demo these, and I will link that in the chat as well, so you guys can follow along if you so desire. So the description for this topic just gives a little more about it. It says, when funding legislation to finance the federal government is not enacted before the next fiscal year, non-essential operations are ceased and non-essential workers are furloughed. And then there's this link to Wikipedia for you to read more, just to give a little more context for this topic. You can also, I've also been kind of using this like topic description spot as like a fallback to put things that I feel don't really fit anywhere else yet. So I think I don't remember if this was supposed to be in the description or not, but this also just says like there are 12 departments that get funding with a link to I think this is the appropriations bill, which determines that. So the way I've been using it with scratch notes is like if I feel like I don't know where to put something and I end up putting it in the scratch notes, I kind of like note that down to myself to like try and think of where would be a better spot for it rather than putting it in this like general spot. So should there be a new node type to fit this information or something like that. Um, so that's the topic description. You'll also see in the details for a topic, there's a settings button. We'll get to that in a bit. When you have a node or an edge selected, the details pane will actually show details for that node or edge that you're looking at. And here, the node or edge details are a little different than the topic details. You'll see for context here, it'll show like the node you're looking at or the edge you're looking at. And then there's notes that you can enter in. The main purpose of the notes field is because you only have like so much text to fit into a node. This is supposed to be kind of like a brief summary. So the notes is there for you to expand on that summary if you want to add a little more explanation, kind of like the topic description, but specific to the node you're looking at. So in this case, we're looking at this government shutdown being a problem, and we're saying it might be caused by this problem that Congress is continuing to get paid during the shutdown. And the explanation, I guess, is that, well, we think that if they weren't paid, they might be more motivated to like compromise and not have to like push off the bill or the approval. Yeah, and the notes, this notes too, since it's open text, you can also put scratch notes there that don't really fit, that don't seem to fit in any other spots. So that's that. You'll notice under the notes, there's also a section for claims for the node or edge you are selecting. You could already see these claims by going to the claim tree for that node. Oh, you see, I was actually playing with this earlier, so I had an empty node. But so previously, you would get to this claim tree view for a node by clicking on this indicator. Now, now we show the top level of claims in this claim section, so that you can kind of click around easily between a bunch of these nodes and edges. Let's see if there's one that has. Oh, here's one. Yeah, so, oh wow, so easy to click between these and see, well, okay, there's justification here and there's justification here. But, sometimes you have more than just the high level that you want to look at, the high level justification, and it becomes more of a tree. So you can click on the View Claim Tree button, and it says how many claims are not shown here as well. So that's just this. This is the test node I added was the only one that wasn't being shown. So if I delete that, then yeah, you can see that indicator kind of changes, and it doesn't say there's any missing. Let's see. Related to that, so this indicator, this like article looking indicator, was previously the button you would click to get to that claim tree, but since that's now over here, I kind of repurposed this button to be viewing the details of this node or edge. So that'll just open up this pane on the left if it's closed. And it also, you notice this one's gray because it has some details. The black like no fill indicators mean that there's nothing special to see in the details pane. There's something else. Oh yeah. So right now the details indicator fills in gray when there's anything filled in for a node. So the notes are filled in, or if there's claims. Um, I think it might be even more convenient to have like separate indicators for if there's notes and a separate one for if there's claims. Um, I haven't gotten too far into that yet, but I'm thinking of adding a footer to each node and edge so that I could fit more indicators. So there could be one that's separately for like if there's notes, a separate one for claims, and um, other potential things. We'll see there in a second. I added some more nodes where you can add questions and facts and sources, and those could also be their own indicators, potentially. Yeah. So I think that, let me just scroll through the blog post to make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, I think that's about it for the details pane. Before getting to this last thing here, so basically I realized that when diagramming a couple things, that it's nice to be able to call out questions, call out things that you think are important to know but you don't know, questions that seem important to answer. So I added questions as another type of node that you can add. They currently cannot be added within the topic diagram here because I think I'm going back and forth about showing them here or not, but I think they're kind of like secondary. They feel kind of secondary. I did add like an indicator to show like if something has a question, so you know to like look for it. But right now, you can only add it through the details pane by clicking on a node, and you can add a new question this way. And when you have a question, makes you kind of want to research more about that question and note down like the answers or relevant facts or sources to read about answers to the question, perhaps. So there are, let's see, so we can go into this question and see, like, specifically the question details has a little more context in its detailed pane where it shows what you're asking about and like potential answers to that question. But questions can also be associated like any other node or edge or any other node with other questions or facts that are relevant to that question or sources that are relevant to the question. Let's see. Yeah, yeah. I have noticed that like as I'm filling these out and kind of researching these answers to these questions, it's a little more janky, or it doesn't feel quite as smooth as just like getting out a Google Doc and taking notes, in like a note-taking tool. So I am on the lookout for how to like make it feel smoother, or how the UI can be better than a note-taking tool. Particularly, the benefit I see in like putting it into nodes is that, or one of the big benefits is that you can like score individual like pieces of information. So like you can give a question a high score to indicate that like, well, I think this is a really important question for us to answer. Or you can give it a lower score to say like, I see this, we don't know the answer to it, but it's not really that important. Um, and the same goes for sources and facts. You can score them to show that you think that they are particularly important, and anything that can be scored can also be critiqued and justified. So if you think like a source is not credible or something, you can give it a low score and uh, justify it with whatever reason you suspect they're not credible. And since these questions, since these exploration nodes are off to the side, I did want to give a better view so that it's easier to kind of see all the questions that you have, all the details, all the facts and sources you found. So that's what this exploration diagram is for. It just shows all of those exploration nodes plus the thing that they are related to. So I think this question is the most kind of filled out. So for the base government shutdown problem, I asked a question: who is affected by shutdowns? And you can see I scored that as what I thought was very important, because that kind of helps you understand why government shutdowns are a problem, I guess. And you can see had a couple answers here. This is not all encompassing, but just some things I noted down. People who get happiness from national parks are affected because national parks are federally run, so they might get reduced hours or something. Other countries that we would reduce trade with, I guess, if a bunch of federal things are shutting down, that I guess could affect trade. I think I saw that in one of these sources mentioned. I did not connect them to that answer, but that's okay. And then you can see a couple facts here and sources. So I guess 1.5 million people are expected to be furloughed if there's a shutdown. And there's this source that said that sources, notice that this is really kind of annoying. I think it would be optimal if sources were, maybe they just show display text and then the URL would be behind that text that you could click on rather than putting this whole URL here, but did not do that yet. Potential future idea. Let's see. What else about these? Exploring a topic. Let me look at the blog post. I think that, I guess, so I mentioned that there's this question indicator to indicate if something has a question. It also matches the color of the highest scored question, so that, by looking at it, I know that there's an important question behind this government shutdown, as opposed to this question, which is just kind of important, I guess. And yeah, I think that's all there. I will use this time. I mentioned that it does feel a little awkward filling out these exploration details in this, into nodes. If you have ideas for potentially how to improve this process, let me know. And I will now put in the chat the link to how to provide feedback. Of course, any way you can think of works, but I just have a couple of ways you can send an email or make a GitHub issue or message me on Discord or however. let's see. Next. Right. So, one thing I thought about after I added these exploration nodes is that I kind of wish I could have tested with them more before having to get into the code and actually make the changes, because it did take a decent amount of effort to support the features I wanted for those explore nodes. So I wish I could have experimented without affecting the code in a more like an easy way. So that gave me the idea of adding this unrestricted editing mode. We'll turn that on. So this is a way to basically like you can add any node as a parent or child of any other node, and that can help you kind of like test connections that might not normally be allowed. There's also this custom node that you can add, and when you're in this mode, you can modify any relation text, and any node's type. So one example of a thing that I've been testing recently that seems promising is benefits and detriments. So I noticed that when we're talking about a problem, sometimes a problem is not like, maybe it's like ambiguously a problem, or it might have some good things about it, or where there's a point where it could be disagreed about being a problem, or something like that. Well, in that case, I thought it seemed like a decent idea to be able to specify like specifically the effects, the positive and negative effects that a problem might create. There are currently a solution can already, outside of this mode, a solution can already have effects, and that was kind of the opposite side of things, that I wanted to be able to add solution or effects to show like why a solution might solve a problem specifically, or embody like some criteria. So this is kind of like equal and opposite on the problem side. So for example here, the grid lockable group decides the funding is something that I put as a problem that might be a cause of government shutdowns. Grid lockable group being like Republicans and Democrats. Like, this isn't, I guess, the greatest example, but just to show like a detriment here. Detriment might be that with a grid lockable group, decisions take longer. Or, yeah, decisions take longer. And with a benefit might be that, like, with a grid lockable group, that kind of implies that they have differing ideas, and so there's some diversity in the ideas, and that can be a good thing. I suppose diversity in ideas brought to the table. So, yeah, that's just something I've been thinking about that I might add in the near future. But this is a use case for the unrestricted editing mode. And I think that's all with that mode. I think. Edit node types, edit edge labels, add custom nodes, and add any node to any other node. Yeah, that's about it. Cool. And I will just delete these for now. So that concludes the big features that were added recently. There are a couple of miscellaneous features I wanted to call out. Yeah, the first is that saved topics can now be made. Well, so there's a settings page here that I just opened. If you go to the settings page, you can. I don't remember if this was here before. You can edit the title. I think it was here before. But the visibility is a new thing. So you can specify that your topic is private if you don't want anyone else to be able to view it. So you'd have to be logged in as the creator of the topic to see it. Unlisted allows you to share the URL with other people and they can see it. Anyone can see it if they have the URL, but they can't find it through like searching for it, I guess. So there aren't really many search features right now, or any in Ameliorate, but there is like the user page. So here, like this shows my list of topics. And these, well, I'm logged in so I can see my unlisted ones, but if you're not, so if I go to, let's see, if I open this in, oops, well, you can't see an incognito tab because I'm not streaming it, but you can envision that if you go to the Kaiser J without being logged in, oh no, I can just log out actually, let me just do that. Just log out. That, yeah, so you can't see, well, it doesn't even show the column because it'll always be public if you don't have, if you're not logged in. Cool. Let me just re-log in. So that's the topic settings page. Oh yeah, sorry. So unlisted won't show up in that list, and when I add features like I plan to add like a topic search at the top here, where you could search for any topic by like the title or the description or something. If it's unlisted, it won't show up in that search. If I add like a popular topics on the homepage or something, those unlisted things won't show up in that. And so if you have it as public, it'll show up in searchable spots and lists. All right. So the next thing to talk about is layout improvements. So just undo this. So the easiest thing to show, which I think is pretty neat, is that now you can see there's an animation to nodes when they move. So you can see where things are moving around when there's like a new layout. So here I added this node, and instead of just like flashing with the new positions, you can see like where the nodes travel from, and that kind of can help you keep some context when you're adding stuff. Ideally, it wouldn't like the layout wouldn't look super different when you add a new thing, and so you wouldn't need the animation, but the layout prioritizes like space efficiency, I guess, where things can fit best. So that's just how it is for now, and I like that anyway, personally. The other two layout improvements. So the first one is that effects and components here. Oh, it's a little awkward, but components and effects now will lay out in their own layer. So you'll see all these effects if I keep adding these. We'll go in the middle here. I just did that because, well, one, grouping nodes by type in the diagram kind of makes it easier to visually consume, because you know that all of this type will show up over here, ish. But also that effects and components are kind of intended to show how solutions fit into a criteria, or embody a criterion. So by putting them in between here, it kind of makes it more obvious that that is the intention. Delete these. And then another layout improvement is that nodes of the same type within the same layer. So these problems and criteria in the same layer. Generally, node types will sit next to each other. So rather than like problem, criteria, you see it like this. And this was most important, in my opinion, in the claim tree here, because now if you add any supports all stay next to each other and critiques all stay next to each other. Note that it doesn't, I think it always is the case in the claim tree, but in the diagram, the topic diagram, sometimes, let's see, yeah, sometimes they will not stay next to each other. If there's, if this is like a good spot to place, like the child of this problem, maybe things move around to prioritize where they like optimally fit. I might be able to make it to force the same types to go next to each other. I haven't seen that that's worth doing. I do think that like being able to like reorder nodes generally could be useful if you're certain things, ideas like relate to each other more than to other things. So I might look into like being able to reorder things in the same layer, but that's probably not super close in the future. Let's see. I think that's all of the miscellaneous things. I guess I can just show the blog post real quick. These visuals I think are just make it obvious what I meant in the layout changes. So here you can see the supports and critiques kind of like they're sorted just by when you added them, and now they sort next to each other, and this is the effects and components going into their own layers. And the layout transitions, yeah. Alright. I think that was all the big things going on here. I did add this back and forward thing so you can go between. So if you like didn't remember what you were just looking at, you can just go back. This was particularly for like if you navigate a bunch of, let's see, if you navigate a bunch of like levels through the details pane, you can just go to what was previously selected. But the thing I was working on today is actually putting in like query parameters to say like what is selected, like your graph, your node ID, and I think when I finish adding that, it'll actually make the browser be able to do that rather than needing this separate feature. So it might be removed anyway. That's okay. So I think the that concludes the features that were added and I guess worth calling out. So now we can move on to what is next. What is next? So, the first thing I want to do is just address a couple of feedback, good ideas that I got, but didn't prioritize in the last update. Namely, there's in the criteria table. Let's find a better. Actually, I can just open up the backlog, and I will put the backlog actually in the chat. So that projects views GitHub link is this backlog where you can see kind of like what ideas I have. In the near future is like stuff for update 3, and then further future or might be pulled in if priorities change, I guess. It's this other milestone, and then no milestone just means like these are ideas. Don't know if they're worth doing yet, but they're there. The two feedback things that I got that I think were great ideas, or calculating weighted solution totals for a table. So in this image, you can see like you're looking at a criteria table, and you've got a bunch of scores for each. This particular picture was when I was picking for the software development side, some web analytic tools. You might run into a criteria table where you have like a lot of criteria and a lot of solutions, and if you score, like you can kind of see from how solutions embody each of the criteria, like you can kind of get a feel for which solutions seem better. But if not all your criteria are valuable, like if you think that this tool being free is more important than that the tool is open source. Let me actually just get this this open. I think this is in my topic list here somewhere. That's the web analytics one. So here, if I oh yeah, I guess I updated it since I made that picture. But if I say that open source is like not very important here, it's a 1, then even though these two solutions, Umami and Plausible, look pretty close, like they've got a bunch of 9s for embodying criteria, they both have a 1. They look pretty close, but here, actually, let's do something that's easier to go. Say that this one's, we don't care that it's a managed product. Then like Plausible has a 9 for this criteria we don't really care about. So really, Umami seems to have the lead, I guess, or seems like a better solution. So if we calculate, the idea behind this calculation is that we can multiply like how well each solution embodies each criteria times how much we care about the criteria. So this would be like a 1 times a 1. And then we'd add each of those for a solution together. So 6 times 9, 9 times 9. And by multiplying those together, we get a number at the bottom. So we can go back to this picture. Well, I guess we don't really have to go into super detail about this, but basically, this is supposed to help understand like if you have a lot of criteria, a lot of solutions, which solutions seem to be the best, and that can disagree with what your like your idea is, and if that's true, then maybe you're missing a criteria or something is scored improperly. But yeah, you see like a score at the bottom that conveys like your opinion added up. That's one of the things that was feedback, and then like sorting. Another thing that was feedback was being able to sort criteria and solutions in this table. So like, we've got a bunch of criteria on the left here. If we could just bring the important ones to the top, bring the solutions I've scored as important to the top, that can help kind of visualize better. And not only could we sort it by the high score, but we could sort it by like controversy. If we have multiple people scoring these, and I think a solution's really good, and someone else thinks it's really bad, then like that could float to the top, and we could see that. That's usually, bringing the disagreements to the front is a good way of finding discussion points. So that would be helpful. Besides that, oh yeah, so the summary of what is to be worked on next is just address a couple of feedback things, and then I want to focus on making the diagram better represent, basically creating a better group understanding in the diagram. So like the diagram should be able to represent what the group thinks about a topic. And if we can accurately represent that, then it should be easy peasy to get on the same page. And what I mean by having the diagram represent that is like kind of improving what kind of node types there are, making it easy to build this diagram of your group's understanding. So I kind of want to focus in that direction. And what I had an idea that seems great for getting moving in that direction, getting good feedback, getting good ideas. I think that having live discussion, group discussion, will be great for that. So I'm going to be hosting discourse sessions, is what I'm calling them, which basically I'm going to try and get groups of 3 to 6, or a group of 3 to 6, to talk about some topic we want to talk about, be it like a world issue, a social issue, or political issue, or something controversial. We'll talk about it for like an hour. I will diagram in Ameliorate and be sharing my screen to hopefully like help us keep focused and identify where we disagree. And yeah, discuss for like an hour, and then have like 30 minutes to pick the topic, or intro and conclude and reflect on like how the session went. So I generally like doing those kinds of discussions, discussing like political issues and stuff. Hopefully you do too, and if you do want to join in on these, you can join the mailing list. I will put in the chat. So mailing list to receive invites to discourse sessions. You can join that mailing list. I plan to like send out an invite, or like a poll, like a scheduling poll for like, next week or next 2 weeks, If you want to participate, what times are you available? And hopefully we can get something together. I hope to do several sessions over the next couple months. I think they should be useful and fun, hopefully. And we can see kind of how Ameliorate helps with those discussions and get ideas for how to make it help more. Yeah, let's see, is there anything else there? Uh, oh yeah, I guess I missed two bullets here from the blog post. I do plan on using the Ameliorate Discord, which is linked in the blog post. Actually, it's linked here as well. I mean, if everybody happened to be located near each other, then we could do one in person, I guess, but I think that's highly unlikely. So plan to use Discord for that. And I guess to clarify, the goal of the discussion that we have is to build an improved mutual understanding of the topic that we're talking about. And then, I think in trying to do that, we'll find good ideas for Ameliorate. There. Oh, I did want to share, I guess, I made a list. Where did I put that list? I started making a list of ideas. Oh, here it is. Started making a list of ideas to discuss. So, oh my God, I can't copy this. Here, I'll put it in the chat too. Ideas for discourse. I think there's a lot more that could go into this. Oh my God. Sorry, technical difficulties. I think there's a lot more things we could discuss, but these are just some brief ones. So I've got it kind of organized into a couple different categories. I think current events are always really fun to talk about, in my opinion, and I think they're a really good source of topics. I've got a link to, I get news, like Google News for the U.S. and for the world. A couple of social issues ideas like climate change or AI ethics. There's political issues, world issues, which are just like really broad. That's why they're, I guess, separated from the social issues, even though they're also social issues. Specific events we could talk about, like causes or what could have been done differently. Thinking about that. I think business problems would be easier to fully solve than these other ones, so they'd be good to talk about. But I don't think we have. I think it'd be hard to find business problems, I guess, to talk about in that regard. But in my experience as a software developer, I do have a problem that I had run into there. So this link I shared in the chat is open. You can add suggestions to this if you want to. Happy to hear those. But we'd probably pick something from that list for discussion. Hopefully you find one of those interesting. Let's see. So yeah, that's hopefully basically in the backlog here I've left open I only have a couple things that I plan to work on in the near future because I want to leave space for ideas that come up in Discord sessions. So I hope to get some of those. But I do have some ideas like the benefit and detriments I talked about. Um, I had this idea for using a banner to like specify what we're currently focusing on. I think that's something that I thought might be useful in a discussion. So you could toggle it and just like there'd be this pop up that says that you could just put in text. This is currently our focus, and um, I have some ideas for like phases or different kinds of focuses. Um, like, oh, well, we're currently just writing down big ideas. This is the one you can see here, or brainstorming like causes of a problem, or maybe we're trying to brainstorm solutions, um, or like what are different effects for this specific problem. I think a banner to focus might be useful just to keep everyone on the same page. I don't know, random other things. Stakeholders, I think, are some piece of information that aren't really well handled in the topic diagram right now. I don't know where they would go particularly, but they seem useful to add. Stakeholders isn't like all the people that are affected by this problem in some way, or would be responsible, or would be able to help solve it. Um, yeah, there's a bunch of. So yeah, I mean, there's some bigger ones like brainstorming mode where like at the beginning of a discourse session you might uh, like want to start with a couple of nodes that everybody knows about, like the maybe just you start with a problem, and then like everybody can separately try to brainstorm all the big ideas they could think of, and then like you'd want to like merge those together, um, or use each person's kind of brainstormed thing as discussion points. That could be cool. Real-time updates definitely, where right now you have to share your screen to actually get everybody looking at the same topic. So with real-time updates like Google Docs, when I add a problem here, like everyone that's looking at it would be able to see that change. That seems probably useful, but also maybe a bigger feature to add. And I guess I could go on forever, so I don't want to. Just the last thing, the ChatGPT could be also very useful. I've got some ideas like you can already like download and upload a topic in JSON form. So like technically ChatGPT should already be able to like receive uh, a topic and make suggestions to it. But yeah, a bunch of cool ideas. It could add suggestions from different perspectives. Like maybe each stakeholder group would be like a perspective to make suggestions from, and ChatGPT seems pretty good at like taking on the role of like a 1500s storyteller, or well, that's not a particular stakeholder that would exist, but there's always I've seen ChatGPT do like poems as a pretending to be in that style. So that's just what I thought of. It could add scores to convey what it thinks is important, um, and like just yeah, I don't know. I think we don't have to go into that too much, but lots of cool ideas that could happen from it. But I think I have that marked as a large because that's I don't really know how to integrate that. I think that'd be a lot of work. Um, I think we're coming to the end of it. Did I put the backlog? I did. Cool. So, yeah, I think that's it. So, I guess with that, um, Thanks for watching. I plan, hopefully, in the next month and a half or 2 months to get the next update with, whatever comes from the Discourse sessions. And don't forget to subscribe to get notifications to the blog, and subscribe to the Discourse sessions if you want to receive invites as well to that. Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. And I will see you next time.